Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today I'm reaching to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Hello, Darren.
Hey, what's going on? How are you today?
Doing really well, Darren. Let me do a brief intro of you. Darren Little is a contributing author to Chicken Soup for the Network Marketing Soul with Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, and the co-author of MLM Affiliate Magic. He's made multiple seven figures in both online and offline businesses. Darren teaches people how to overcome their fears and step into their personal power with his Unleash the Alpha Within live and interactive seminar series. He also teaches people how to recruit new reps into their business in 6 to 45 minutes. Darren, where does your story begin?
Well, I got to tell you, it really starts in the area of personal development, Timothy. And it's, people, I don't think that people really know when they get into this industry that they're actually getting into the personal development industry. We're really in a leadership business model. It's personal development disguised as a business. And I had some really, really big dreams when I was a kid. And when I got into my 20s, I was pulled to these late night infomercials. And that's really where it started, was watching infomercials. I used to watch the Dicer and the Slicer and the Steam Vac and all these different infomercials. And then lo and behold, one night along came Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins was my first entry into the personal development industry with his personal power program. And but as you kind of go through this evolution and make these stairs and go up the ladder, there was something missing for me. And I sort of went to the forest this one day and I was proclaiming to the universe, and I'm ready for my breakthrough. I'm ready to go to the next level, right? And along comes Dr. Lee Poulos, who really focused in on the subconscious mind and our core beliefs about money and the human condition. And I learned a lot about really going deeper into understanding how to create our realities, but there was still a missing component. And then I met Dr. Dov Baron in quantum physics. And that really took me to the next level. So I started in this industry when I was 22. And I met this seven-figure incomer. And I was actually in a lineup at a Chinese restaurant going across, and he came walking in the door. He had like about a $5,000 suit on and a Rolex, and he was very well manicured guy, right? And he came over, he was in lineup, and he was just kind of looking around, and he had a very jovial energy to him. He was very easy to communicate and talk with, right? And he kind of said, so what exactly do you do in town here? And I said, oh, actually, I'm in marketing, right? And he said, oh, cool. I said, what about you? So he started talking about this technology that they have, and it was top secret, and the patents and stuff on it. And he really kind of built it up like it was like some spy versus spy thing, right? So he says, oh, we're just up here in the towers over here. You should come on up and just have a chat. It was very intriguing. Okay. Now, looking back on it now that I know, what he was really doing was building rapport with me and piquing my curiosity. That was it. He wasn't telling me about anything. All he wanted to do was to be able to connect again. So I went up to his office and I was blown away with what I saw. And he said to me, Darren, you want to become a millionaire? Absolutely, I do. He said, okay, you serious about that? Man, I want to be a billionaire. He said, okay, rule number one. I don't want you talking about our company. And I said, okay, well, maybe it's because of the top secret stuff. Maybe it's because of the patents. Okay, so I can't mention the company at all. Nope, can't mention the company. Rule number two, I don't want you talking about our products. Now, imagine you coming from features and benefits. Now that's typically real estate, mortgage broker, insurance, automotive, retail. Those are all features and benefits driven business models. So I said, okay, so now my stomach literally was dropped down to my knees, right? Because I had given $4,000, $4,000. This is 30 years ago. So I thought to myself, oh my God, must be doing something illegal.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. It sounds like, oh boy, what did I get myself into here?
Right. So I said, well, Harvey, let me just understand this. So you want me to sell these things, but I can't talk about them, and I can't talk about the company that made them? Yep, that's right. I said, well, what the heck am I going to talk about? He said, Darren, if you want to become a millionaire, you're going to talk about them. And I said, okay, so you think I'm going to sell these things by talking about the other person and they're going to buy these? Yep, that's right. Okay. Now, from this process that I went through, I learned that if you really want to go big in this industry, I'm talking 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, and 8 figures, you have to really understand this concept. It really has nothing to do with your company. It has nothing to do with your products. It has nothing to do with your comp plan. It has nothing to do with your management, your track record, your patents, and blah, 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 your OREC value and all the rest of the crap that people are out there pitching. It has to do with the other person. What's their vision? What's their dream? What's their pain? What's their problem? What's their passion? And the whole conversation is actually about the other person, not your deal, okay? Now, when people hear this thing about me, teaching people how to recruit new reps in 6 to 45 minutes, they actually can't believe it until they see me do it actually live. And then they're completely shocked because there's zero mention of any company. In fact, a lot of people will pull out, $1,200 all the way up to $2,000, and they don't even know what the product even is, and they don't care. They don't care. People don't care. What they want is they want to take it to the promised land. And if you're that person that they feel confident that you can take them to the promised land, they will give you their money. And they will literally just pull out their credit cards and, throw them at you so that they can work with you. So that's kind of where I started.
You replicated, and it sounds like you still do. I mean, you learned from that initial experience of someone building rapport with you. You've learned how to replicate that and repeat that. And it sounds like now also train others as you were trained to build that depth of rapport.
Yeah. And the thing about, see, here's kind of the evolution of how it started. I realized very early that if I wanted to be the top income earner, I had to be the guy up at the front of the room. I had to be the guy that was speaking. I had to be the guy that was doing the presentation. I had to be the guy that was leading the team if I wanted to make big money, okay? And that takes personal development. So it was a combination between personal development. Then I learned those things from the 7-figure income earner, but I also transferred it over into real business. And I ended up working in a phone room raising money, doing, like basically cold calling people that were investors to try to raise money for public companies. And I was in a very interesting situation because if I didn't raise money, I didn't eat. So my senses went into like spidey sense. So I basically, had to listen to tonality and, pitch, right? And I learned that I could come into the line, like right now we're on an energy portal. This is an energy portal, okay? So the internet, Skype, Facebook chat, telephones, these are all energy portals, okay? And the energy will go right through the portal into the other person. So in the event that, that I haven't seen somebody in quite a long time, and I want to reach out and connect with them, there's a certain frequency that I learned that you can come into the line with, and it's like a laughter energy, and it transfers through the phone line and it gets over to the other person, and then you're both laughing. Okay, so if it's like ring, 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 you say hello, Timothy, what's going on? Boom. And it's a specific tone and frequency that transfers through the line. And I got really good at that. And I could, that's how I actually raised tens of millions of dollars, was to learn that skill. but it goes over, these are transferable skills. So we got people, as an example, they learn this stuff. One of my guys started off as an engineer, he's part-time. Now he got 2 promotions and 2 raises, and now a bigger job position just from learning these skills. So this industry that we're in, not only is it leadership and personal development, but you have to get good at one thing: people. People. Because the real product that you're marketing is you. You are the product. And what my millionaire mentor said to me, he said, Darren, when you really get our industry, you will be able to just walk into a room and people that are looking the opposite direction will stop in their conversation and turn around to see who just walked in, because they'll get your energy blast on their back. And that is when you know that you're in this industry, because you're the product.
How long did it take you to have the self-awareness that you had that? I mean, I don't imagine it was overnight, right? There must have been the development of the skill, the experience of it in different settings with different individuals, right? Because I would guess to hit this right tonality and rhythm is somewhat unique to each individual. But then now you're describing a group setting. Can you say a little bit like what did it take for you to develop that to the point where you knew you had it?
You basically have to, it's like a muscle. You have to work the muscle. We all have these amazing talents and skills that we have. People don't even really know that they have. So so it started off with Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins teaches a lot about neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, mirroring and modeling, goal setting, things like that. But Dr. Poulos went deeper into the human condition and the programming from our childhood, and how you know, we actually get programmed with no, don't, stop, and be careful in a very early stages where we don't even understand the language, right? And then we get deservability, worthiness, self-love, and boundary issues. And but it wasn't until quantum physics, truthfully. I was on this path of personal development for the last 30 years. And the one book that really did a major shift for me was called The Celestine Prophecy. And that's where I really started to become self-aware, listening to the whole process of split consciousness and whatnot. But I started to practice things. And as my body started to tune more into this state of awareness, once you get through these different levels in the game, you get, the world changes. The world completely changes. Like the grass is greener, the sky is bluer. It's different. It's different in higher frequencies, and it evolves and it gets better and better and better until you can literally almost manifest on demand once you understand this. So what happened for me was that I would go into like a lounge, as an example, and I could tune into a specific frequency. It started to almost get to the point of being like science fiction. Like I'd be with a group in a corner in a lounge, and I would, you know, get into a certain vibration. I would say, hey guys, okay, you guys ready? Okay, I'm gonna stand up on 3. And when I stand up, this entire room is gonna stop talking. And I would do it. And they would like, it was literally like a science fiction movie. And it would be hard to fathom what just happened. It was almost like, what, right? And, or I would be at the table and, you know, we were at the Sutton Place Hotel and a lot of celebrities and stuff came through there, and I'd focus in on one specific person, right? And I'd say, see that guy right over there? The actor right there. Yeah, okay, here's what's gonna happen. At the very end of the night, the place is gonna clear out. He's gonna stand up, he's gonna walk over here, and he's gonna sit right here, right beside me. And it would actually happen, right? And I got to the point where I could, you know, tap into these frequencies and tap into these energies. And, you know, it didn't look real. It looked like these people were with me in the Matrix movie. And you just get better and better and better. And it's through practice. You know, you have to be in a very high frequency state to be able to do some of these things. Like somebody will say, Darren, how could you start something and like with nothing? Like I just did a campaign I rolled out. I started it with $1,349, and 30 days later, I had $165,000 in the bank out of thin air, right? I didn't spend any money on paid advertising, none at all, okay? So it really is about, if you don't believe that that's possible, it will never happen in a million years for you, ever. So belief is really, really critical with this whole thing. But the equation for manifestation, okay, this is the actual equation. There's an equation for it. Okay, so here it is. It's thought directed emotion that generates feeling.
You said emotion, thought directed.
Motion.
Okay.
Emotion is motion. Emotion is motion. Now that could be forwards or backwards, but thought directed emotion that generates feeling is what creates your reality. Now, the good news is it works for everything you want. The bad news is it works for everything that you don't want. There's two realities that are parallel. You got everything you want over here, you got everything you don't want over here. And you're walking this tightrope between these two realities. And depending on which one that you're emotionally connected to through your self-talk, right? Your thoughts, your words that you speak and write, and your emotional connection, okay? And then it's like a radio beacon. It goes, whoosh, and now that's going to communicate with the electrons. Now the electrons are in a state of superposition. They're waiting for your instructions, right? They're going to be either a wave of energy or particle of matter, and they're waiting. They're waiting. So what are you going to get? I don't know. Depends on what your thought directed emotion is that goes out to those electrons each and every day. Now, because of the fact that we deal with the human condition, right? 70 to 80% of all of our thoughts every day are negative. And that's never going to go away. That's the baseline, right? It's like it's pretty bad odds, right? You know what I mean? It's pretty bad odds. So this is why the personal development is so important. But most people do this in their entrepreneurial business. They go like this. They go, so it's like, oh my God, they're going to join. Oh, they went with somebody else. So it's like bipolar mood disorder. So they go from euphoria to clinical depression and wanting to quit, back up to euphoria, back down to depression. The goal is to get to this in the game. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, most people.
That's almost that frequency, that tonal reference that you're speaking of.
Yeah, like the yin and the yang's never going away. It's like the seasons. You got winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, right? So it's like the heartbeat is never going to just, if it goes flatline, you're dead, right? It's always going to do this. That's just life. But what people don't understand is that the way that the universe is structured, if you go into euphoria, it has to reset to get to the center again. So people go and they have this crash, and a crash can take you completely flatline. Okay, it can take you flatline for 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. I've seen people have to go onto antidepressants to get out of a crash, but they don't know in the early stage of their evolution and getting to their spiritual path, they don't understand any of this, right? Because in the three-dimensional reality in the first level of the game, which is victimhood, a lot of this stuff isn't even in the state of awareness yet. It's not until you get onto the path of personal development and you graduate, right? And you get to the next level of the game that you can advance. You have to actually be able to take full responsibility for your entire timeline and love yourself enough to forgive yourself to even advance. And until you can give credit or gratitude to all the pain which forged all of your talents and skills, you can never give gratitude to your talents and skills to have them worth anything to get into universal abundance zone. It's not possible. It's not possible, right? So until a person can actually give gratitude for the shit, right, and appreciate it, they can never actually get to 7 million, you know, or a million, 7 figures, a million, 10 million, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, 100 million, a billion. It's not possible. It's not possible, right? They're stuck in the low vibrational frequency, 3,000 to 5,000 a month. They're in prison in their own mind, and they're in victimhood. Bummer, right? Bummer.
Back to belief again, right? Like that's a self-awareness. I mean, boy, there's a lot of pieces here, but let me see if I can echo back what's sinking in for me, because it's a lot. I don't know that it's all sinking in. I'm sure it's a lot what you're sharing right now, but it's brilliant. In fact, let me back up even further and ask your take. I'd like to overlay a belief system somewhat I loosely work with. And it's simply because I used to hold on to beliefs like these were really valuable and useful. And I've only got one left, Darren. There's literally just one left that I do hold on to like a good firm walking stick. And it's that everything, literally everything's unknowable. So if I back up from that, there seems to be this realm of the known, right? What we know, we think we know, we got the credentials to prove that we know, right? And then there's the unknown, right? And these are things that we can identify, we can pull into the known. But I haven't found this is more than about 10%, because it leaves this 90%, which is what I call the unknowable. And that's what it sounds like you're tapping, and yet you're bringing some clarity to it. Whereas where I've found it's really like reaching into the darkness or the light and pulling out things. And it's like a strobe light. You know, I'll get inspiration in instants, but to anchor that in the known sounds like what you're doing.
I actually, yes, and it's very, it's very simple, okay? But the simplest things can be the most difficult to accept, okay? The simplest things can be the most difficult to accept as truth, okay? So here's what I'm gonna share with you. You can master your reality by focusing on your preferred state of being. Focus on your preferred state of being and love yourself enough to feel worthy and deserving, to know that abundance is your birthright. There's not enough money that can pay, that is in the world that can pay for your worth, and that everything that mankind has created, you deserve to have. It's real simple. And once you can believe that to be true and accept it as your baseline, a lot of the struggle just disappears. It's like, oh, it's gone now, because that's your baseline belief, right? That all you have to do is focus on your preferred state. Now, it doesn't make it right or wrong, right? So if my preferred state has, you know, like I collect watches as an example, and I love cars, and, you know, so somebody might look at, say something like a Pagani, right? That's like 2.2 million. And for them, it's completely ridiculous. But for me, it's not, right? Because I look at the hand craftsmanship and the attention to detail, right? So a lot of people say, well, Darren, why would you go, you know, spend 34,000 bucks on a Rolex, right? Because I set it as a goal for myself, not because it was anything, but because I just felt I deserved it. That's all, right? Or when I, you know, I wanted to be able to just pay $1 million for a house, just like wire $1 million bucks, right? And was it my ego? No, that was my preferred state of being. That was just my preferred state. So once you get clear on your preferred state of being, the universe you can bend the universe, literally. You can bend everything to your way of your belief. It all has to do with your belief. So because of the fact that I really tuned in to quantum physics, right, and the wave particle theory, here's, I don't know if you've actually ever seen this, but I highly recommend that you do. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole. Okay, what the bleep do we know? Down the rabbit hole. It's quantum edition. You have to have the quantum edition, but I highly recommend to watch that numerous times. And the book Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. Those two things right there will completely change every area of your life, okay? Because you'll start to get tuned into your body, into vibrational resonance and frequency, and understand that your body is like a radio station. And you can tune it in to these 99.3, 104.3. You can turn it into these things like bass and treble, right? You can tune your body the same way. And once you become aware of that, oh my God. Because that's what manifests. And then you get, as you condition your body more, the body, you will know when the body has a certain feeling coming on, right? So when I start talking about it and I get, you know, right, and I just go, how do I feel? How do I feel? The wave comes. You see it's like stands up. My hair starts standing up on end, right? Because I've tuned it so much. So in a fraction of, 2 seconds, I can tune that into the vibration, and then that now starts sending out a broadcast out to the electrons. Now, here's the cool thing. The scientists did not, they basically were having this sort of argument. Like one group of scientists said, they're trying to figure out what everything is actually made up of. Okay, so one group of scientists said, everything is made of waves of energy, right? And the other group of scientists said, no. Everything is made up of particles of matter. And the particles of matter come together and they form the electrons. Electrons come together and they form the atoms and the molecules, and then there's stuff, right? Like this. Okay. But the other one said, no. It's the waves of energy that come together to form the electrons, and the electrons come together to form the atoms and the molecules, and that comes together to form stuff. Okay. The scientists that believed that everything was made up of waves of energy looked down through the microscope and they saw waves of energy. The scientists that believed that it was particles of matter looked down and they saw particles of matter. Okay, so imagine you got these two laboratories, waves of energy, particles of matter. When a scientist from here, okay, the wave, went over to this laboratory, they saw waves. When a scientist from here went over to this laboratory, they saw particles. What? How's that even freaking possible? It's possible because the electrons are both at the same time. They're in a state of superposition and they're waiting for your instructions. And the instructions come from thought-directed emotion that generates feeling. And that feeling is what is communicating with those electrons. And once you get tuned into that, you can feel it. When I do these interviews and stuff, I get these goosebumps for hour, 2, 3 hours straight. They don't go away. As I'm teaching these concepts and philosophies to my students, they don't go away for the entire time that I'm doing the broadcast. And that's just because I've done it so much. I've talked about it so much. And I believe that if a person will really take the time and learn this, you can have anything that you want, anything that you want. It really has to do with whether or not you love yourself enough to feel worthy.
And you're able to receive it, therefore, aren't you, right? You're open to it.
It's like this. If you take a rock, okay, a rock, and you put it into a river, the best possible case scenario is the rock gets polished. Okay, now that's not a bad thing, right? Because you take out that rock and it's like, ooh, this is beautiful, right? But if you want to go into the abundant zone, the rock has to go through a transformation and become a sponge. Okay, now a sponge gets bigger and the water goes through it. Okay, that's the river of abundance. So what actually stops that? So imagine you're the rock. Okay, the water's going to come like this. It's going to go right around you and it's going to keep on going. But if you're a sponge, the water's going to come. It's going to go right through you. Okay, so most people are the rock. Most people are the rock.
Well, look I was the rock with this idea of an old belief system, the known, the unknown, the unknowable. And what I'm hearing you're doing is you're just breaking those barriers. Or not even breaking barriers. You're showing me how porous they actually are, unless I think they're solid, right? I mean, that's the sponge versus the rock. I mean, we're back to belief. You're like, you're going to get what you ask for, right? And if you keep asking for a belief, you're pretty much going to be stuck with living with it.
You really have to, you know, and I'm like, I don't, you know, get out and, you know, preach on, you know, whatever a person's spiritual beliefs are. It doesn't matter. They could believe in their higher consciousness, their higher self, the universe, God, Buddha, Jesus. It doesn't matter, right? But I believe that in order to go to these higher realms, you have to believe that there is a higher purpose for you here on the planet, right? Because it's not about you and your family, trust me. And until you can take the focus off of that and onto your higher global purpose, you can never get to those higher numbers. It's not possible, right? You'll never advance from those the first level, or even getting past the first level into the second level of the game into the higher realms. It will never happen for people, right? They're not only will their belief not allow it, but the principles of the universe will not allow it, because everything that they're doing is to support their own ego. Okay, it doesn't have a higher purpose to it, and that's a problem, right? That's a problem. You got a blocker there. You can't go any further in the game. It's three-dimensional holographic video game, just so you know. And once you understand it more and you understand how to use the game controller in the video game, everything changes. It's phenomenal. You know, people watch The Matrix and they don't, they think it's science fiction. I can tell you for 100% factually that it's real. It's not fake.